sure that there aren't any other things happening. For instance, it's reasonable to assume that American Atheist ads would impact searches on American atheists. That's reasonable. So if there are spikes for American atheists in conjunction with our ads, they would have to line up with these spikes in order to say there's any sort of a relationship, any sort of cause and effect. There would have to be a coincidence of spikes for American atheists and spikes for atheists on a general level. And that is exactly what we see. These are spikes for American atheists. As you can see, not much happens before I start putting up the advertising, but these are the spikes for American atheist searches, and they line up almost perfectly with spikes for atheists. The only difference, the major difference, right there, the Reason Rally. Wasn't an American atheist event. That's why it's not there. But every single one of these spikes lines up with a spike there. That makes it even more interesting. So now we're seeing what appears to be a cause and effect. But let's look at it more. Let's say that the tide is rising. Okay? There's an increase in internet traffic. There's an increase in atheists, and they're just searching, and it's all coincidental. If that were the case, then we would see similar rises for other terms. We would see people searching for agnostic, searching for humanist more often. If this was not just about atheists, this was about atheists of different colors, of different stripes, we would see that those terms would all go up at the same time. That makes sense? But it's not what we see. This is what we see. Humanist, agnostic, humanist, secular, they all stay stagnant or go down in the same time frame. There's a big push here for agnostic right here. That's when President Obama said he was agnostic on campaign finance reform. This is atheists leading and leaving the pack, and everybody else going down. And this red line over here, this is humanist. It actually is going down over time. And I love my humanist friends, but they've been putting a lot of effort and time into activism, a lot of advertising going in, and it's obviously not working at all. They put television commercials up, and it doesn't even blip, because nobody knows what a humanist is. So nobody's looking for it. They know what atheists are, and so they're looking for that. So again, other labels are searched less frequently and are roughly unchanged or in decline. Only atheist is growing, and only so, dramatically so, since 2010, when we first put up our billboards. And so whatever affected atheist, only affected atheist. Anything broader would have affected all labels. So now, we've got a correlation between American atheist ads and American atheist activity and searches for American atheists, which coincide almost perfectly with searches for atheists and no other term. Okay, so let's look at calling ourselves atheists. Of course, we know that humanists and agnostics and brights are atheists. They're atheists. They just call themselves something different. Even those atheists who hate the term atheists, guess what? They're still atheists because they don't have an active belief in a God. This is a chart about atheists calling themselves atheists. And it shows, this is from Pew 2012, right here, a bump. Okay? It starts going in this direction, and then in 2010, that way. Right? It takes a nice little uptick, and nobody knows why. But we do, don't we? So if we take the searches for the word atheist, and we superimpose it on this chart, we see that. We see a rise in the floor at the exact same time as the rise in people calling themselves atheists. So use of atheist correlates with hardline advertising. You see the trail here. Use of atheist correlates with hardline advertising, and interestingly, use of agnostic also correlates with the assumption with that. which is kind of interesting because, as you remember from the other chart, agnostic hasn't gone up in searches. Nobody's been searching more for agnostic. They're searching on atheist and using agnostic as a stepping stone term. And we're causing an increase in that. Now, is all of this proof positive? No. But if you take the fact that all of our searches for American atheists line up with searches on atheists, and if you add in the fact that only atheist is increasing in the same time frame, in correlation with all of our activity, and if you say that the growth in atheism is directly, or looks directly related to the growth of people calling themselves atheists, well, correlation is not causation. But that's a lot of correlation right there. That's a lot of correlation. And it's a hard correlation. And here's the interesting thing. If everything I say and everything I do is 100% right, this is exactly what we would expect to see. Hardline atheism causes news, causes curiosity, causes people to search on the word atheist, causes people to meet other atheists and get comfortable with the word, causes people to come out as atheists. This is the big picture. It passes the smell test. It works.
How do you know your first two charts